Today I'm going to show you how I grow potatoes. I start from a potato that's already started to sprout, and you can do this by just taking the potatoes that you buy at the grocery store and set them aside for a few weeks. Not in your refrigerator, but although if you leave them in your refrigerator, they will eventually start to sprout like this, but set them aside. And then I'll show you what the next steps are as we get into planting potatoes. So to get started, all you'll need is what you call seed potatoes. Now, if you don't have these at home, if you haven't prepared for them, you can go to a local garden shop, or maybe even some of the big box stores are going to sell the starter potato seeds. But I just like to use the ones I have from home, and there's all different varieties that you can use. But I found that these red potatoes are some of the most easiest potatoes to grow, and they're very versatile. You can use them in many different recipes. It's just really a good all-around potato. So what we're going to do today is we're going to get the potatoes ready to plant tomorrow. I'm going to start looking at preparing the soil. So I'm starting a day in advance. And why am I doing that? Because I'm going to cut these potatoes and let them dry for 24 hours before I plant them. I've got myself a makeshift table here with a piece of plywood laying on top of my wheelbarrow. I'm going to use it for a cutting board. I'm going to cut these potatoes so that I don't damage any of the eyes or the areas that's growing. But you'll see on some of the potatoes they're not growing, but they still have these eyes in there. And those are the potential spots that will grow. So let's just start cutting here. And I'm going to use this one large potato for several plantings. There's one there. There's one there. One there. And this one here has the start of a growth right there. Over here we'll go like this, and we'll go like that. Now the ones that don't really have any growth on them, just look for the eyes and try to single those out. In this cut here I've got 2 or 3 nice eyes in there. Same thing here. And this one has some eyes there. I'm not going to cut that one again. Now that I have my potatoes cut up, I'm going to let them just sit on this board and dry overnight. Let's go take a look at the dirt and see what we got to do to get it prepared. Well, currently this doesn't look very pleasing here, but this is really the way I like to plant potatoes. I have these large tubs. They're actually watering troughs for cattle and livestock, and I prefer to plant in these tubs than I had in the ground. In my area here, the ground has some clay in it, and I just have less trouble with bugs and insects if I keep my vegetables in these big pots here that you can see. So over the winter, some weeds have came up, a little bit left from last fall, and in this container here, there's actually some seedlings from palm trees that I have nearby. So that'll show you what Mother Nature will do in just a few short months over the winter. Palm tree seeds will drop in here and start to grow. So what the plan is to rake out all of this old growth. I'm going to remove some of the dirt here because the nutrients in that dirt have probably been expended. So I'm going to remove some of that dirt and then put some fresh dirt in on top of that. Oh, look what we found from last year. Some tubers. I'm not sure exactly what this is. That might have been sweet potato. Look at that, they're still coming up. Now that one's rotten there. In my climate in northern Florida, things just grow all year long, especially the weeds. They seem to never stop growing. I'm going to take probably 3 inches of this soil out. Replace that with some fresh soil. When I get to that point, I'll show you what kind of soil I'm using. But you can use just about any kind of garden soil that you can find at your local garden center. Potatoes are going to like a soil that is real loose, irrigates well, allows the potatoes to propagate. If you have clay in your soil, that's not going to work very well, if at all. Really wanted to get as many of these roots out as I could. I didn't talk about when to plant. Now that's going to vary, of course, on your location, which planting zone you're in. I'm in Northwest Florida. As a rule of thumb, I plant as we're shifting naturally from winter to spring with very little likelihood of any frost. Today is March the 6th. There's a chance of some frost here in a few days, but I don't think these plants are going to be up out of the ground by then, so I'm not really worried about that. But you do want to get them planted early. They will shut down. Potatoes start to shut down as the temperature rises in the spring. If you plant too late, you may not have a very good crop. All right, this bed here is cleaned out. All I've got to do is remove some of the soil. Removing about 3 inches of the soil out of each of these containers. And again, that's to get the soil out that's depleted its nutrients, get some fresh soil in. And as the potatoes start to grow and bush up, I'll come back and put even more soil in around the plants, because the potatoes are going to grow very close to the surface. And you want to make sure they stay covered. They get exposed to sunlight, that's not good. If you've ever seen a green potato, that's probably because it was exposed to the sunlight. Well, here's the new soil I'll be using. It's a product called Stay Green. It's for flowers and vegetables, and it does have some fertilizer in it. It says it feeds up to 9 months. So we've used this for quite some time now, and we're very pleased with that. But this is not the only soil that's going to work. There's numerous others that will do just as well. Get what you can find at your local stores, and if something's on sale, check that out. That might work as well. I'm going to put the new soil in. I'm going to come back tomorrow, and we're going to plant the potatoes. Well, good morning, everyone. We have the seed potatoes already cut. They've been drying overnight. They're ready to plant now. So what I'm going to do is take these containers and make 2 rows in here, 2 trenches. If you were planting out in an open garden, you'd do it the same way. You would dig trenches and then come back and backfill with that. And then over time, as your potato plants start to grow up, you would come and backfill with more dirt to ensure that your potatoes were always covered up. Spacing, we're going to look at like 6 inches between the trenches and 6 inches between each plant. That should give us plenty of room as the plants mature. Here's a very nice one here. We want to plant these about 1.5 to 2 inches deep, and always have the eye of the potato sticking up. Like so. Have one more down there. One more on this end here. Come back with a second row. The same thing. Another very nice one here. We've got some thunderstorms coming in this morning. So I'm just going to cover these potatoes and not water them. I will wait and let Mother Nature do that for us. But I'll check them to ensure that they did get rain today. Then come back, pull some of the soil over the top. You see how nice and soft the soil is, and as I had mentioned earlier, hard soil with clay in it is just not going to allow the potatoes to reach their maximum. There we have it. These potatoes here are in the ground and they are ready to start growing. I had enough of the seed potatoes to cover all 4 of these planters. So they're all planted. It's not going to be a huge crop, but it's going to be enough for several meals when they do come in. Make sure you check back in 6 or 8 weeks to see how they're doing. We may even have a first reveal by then. Well, you don't have to have a farm or a huge piece of property to grow a few vegetables. You can do it right there in your backyard, or even if you're in an apartment, maybe you have a patio where you can put a planter or 2 in there and have some peppers, maybe a few tomatoes, and who knows, maybe some potatoes as we just planted here today. But we have to take care of ourselves first and take care of our families first and be resilient as best we can. So I appreciate you watching. Come back and get more in 6 or 8 weeks of this planting here, and we'll have many more things to look at in the future. So until next time, I'll see you in my next video. Come on, Cosmo. I love this boy, love this boy.